All right, now the same question we're asking for junior high. In your opinion, what is the maximum number of students that should be enrolled in a junior high school? Oh, okay. Currently 742.
Yes.
So we're going to stick with a junior high at 7th and 8th grade.
That's just the question. What could happen down the road? No. Nothing's been determined.
Yeah, none of that's been determined. We're just,
Well, but I think it speaks to, if we're saying 6, 7, 8 is the younger group of kids, or if we were saying 5th grade, you know, like.
This is just talking about if you put 7th and 8th graders.
yes,
So it is just talking about 7, 8.
Just
Yes.
talking about 7th.
7th and 8th graders. So we have about 47 responses at this time. Which is 48. 50. All right, it's good. So we're going to take a look at these results. Okay. We move to the next question. Keep going in the wrong direction. Did I skip a question?
I don't know.
This mouse is.
Want to go back to question?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
no, I get the high school question is probably after.
All right. Question 18. Currently, Little Miami School District students may change schools 6 times before they graduate from high school. What is the maximum number of transitions that a student should have before graduating from high school?
How do we reset bowling? Bowling is closed, you've got 4 responses.
Let me go back and reset that question. Polling is reopened. If you voted, please vote here. All right, I think we're good. 4. Okay. 3 and 4, yeah. Next question.
Oops, went the wrong way.
I know.
Yeah.
This mouse is just, yeah, it is. How important is it to offer high school level credits to junior high students who are advanced in their academic studies? Okay, we have about 49 responses. So we're going to take a look at the results. Very important. All right, next question. Which statement would you support for Little Miami School District, High School, as enrollment increases? One says Little Miami School District should maintain one high school regardless of the number of students enrolled. 2, Little Miami School District should build a second high school when the existing high school is at full capacity. 3, no opinion, don't know.
What's full
So,
capacity?
here, that was, I was gonna grab. So to put that in perspective, first, let's take a look again at the enrollment projection for high school. So right now, the high school has an enrollment of 1,253. The enrollment capacity of the high school is 1,500. In 2020, in year 2020, the enrollment of high school will be at 1,462. In 2025, it's at 1,750. So we will hit this building's capacity probably by year 2021.
So this question is asking, as the high school enrollment increases, so you're saying, regardless of that, you're saying if you select number 1, you're saying just add on to the high school and keep the population in one location.
Not necessarily,
Well-
or it could be build a new high school to
Or it could
accommodate
be,
a
well, but
larger
it-
enrollment.
Yeah, but it's one high school. All right, 2, you're saying have multiple high schools.
Like included.
Yes, like Lakota does, like Northwest does, like Forest Hills does, as examples. So again, I encourage you to look at the high school enrollment numbers of your neighboring school districts to see kind of where they land on their maximum goals.
So we have about 49 responses at this point. And we're going to take a look at the results. All right, next question. In your opinion, what is the maximum number of students that should be enrolled in a high school?
This holds 1,500?
Yes. Okay. What is important to you when choosing a school district for your family? And you select up to 3. 1 is safety, 2, superb academic programs, 3, student enrollment at individual school buildings, 4, family-like environment, everyone knows each other, 5, greater opportunity for students to play sports and be involved in other extracurricular activities, 6, physical conditions of school facilities. Yeah. Yes, and you saw, you can choose up to 3 for this particular question. So superb academic programs rated really high, family-like environment, and safety. Those were the top 3 responses. Would you support investing in new schools knowing that long-term savings and operation costs will more than compensate for higher upfront costs? We have 49, so someone is still thinking. Okay,
Everybody who isn't in this room will vote no on that.
okay. And this survey will be online tomorrow. So those who are not here can go online and complete this exact same survey. It will be posted on the district's website. 24. In your opinion, what is the most important reason to renovate a school? Is it the condition of the school? Is it the number of students enrolled versus the capacity of the school? Lack of 21st century educational facilities to support current education, teaching, and learning methods, improving the building's efficiency and operation costs, or 5, all of the above. We have 49 responses and 50, so we are going to take a look at the results. All of the above, 90%. At what point should a new school be considered? The cost to renovate exceeds 66%, and this is a state rule, and it's really the two-thirds rule. If the cost to renovate exceeds 2/3 the cost of building new, then the state would say build new. Classrooms and other spaces are too small. Site cannot accommodate an addition. 4, there is inadequate space for athletic and physical education offerings. 5, building does not provide students with an environment that supports current educational best practices. 6, return on investment analysis shows that it would be more cost effective to build new than to renovate the existing building over the anticipated life. 7, all of the above.
You're not gonna get an opinion if you allow all of the above.
Well, and that's what he,
It shouldn't be on this question or the previous one.
oh, okay, so for this one, if you picked all of the above, pick a new one. Do not pick all of the above. All of the above, you're exactly right. All of the above should not be an option on this one, and then I think we're gonna go back. Can we go back and redo the previous question? Can we re-poll it or not?
I can redo, totally, at this point, it's already, those results already added into the system.
Well, can we re-vote?
You can re-vote.
Re-vote on this one, eliminate all of the above as an option, so that we can prioritize.
So give us a little more time to think.
Yes, so
yes.
think.
What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Pick anything except 7. If you push 7.
You only want us
push
to
a
pick
different
one, though?
one.
You can pick anything but 7 for this question.
But only one?
Only one.
Only one, just so that we can start to see priorities.
All right, let's take a look at the results. Okay, next question. We're going to, at the end, I'll give you an opportunity to answer question 24 again, but I'm going to finish. All right, what is your preference when Little Miami student enrollment exceeds building capacity prior to additions or new construction? So when they,
None of them are nice, but they're gonna be maxed out on space.
By the appropriation already has capacity available.
Yeah. We want an option
Right,
to
do you want to
have
explain split schedule?
Enough
Because
capacity
we'll
to do a much better job than I will.
This is the thing, it's the one hand. A split schedule would be basically running an A shift and a B shift in the same space during the day. So as an example, you might have, I'm just going to pick some grades. You may have 3rd and 4th grade go to school from 7 to 1, and in the same set of classrooms in the afternoon at 1:30, you may have 5th and 6th grade teachers and students use that space as well. So that's a split schedule.
What is that first?
Alternative calendar would be, an example of that would be a year-round calendar where you would have, in order to be able to use the space, you would use it year-round. And in this example, there would be 5 quarters, and students would go 4 of the 5 quarters, with basically a fifth of the students would be out on summer vacation, but summer vacation would be occurring at different times of the year for students. So you could have, if you drew the unlucky number, you could be out on summer vacation in winter on that rotation.
So a split schedule means a longer total day?
Yes.
Longer total
And you'd be running your transportation department twice during the day to take either all of or a portion of the kids. It could be you do this at your elementaries, or you do it at your 7-12 end, or you do it for the whole district, depending on how short you are for space.
We did a negotiation. When I taught at Goshen, we had split sessions. We did 1st grade, we did 5th grade, we did maybe 7th grade. And it was not a positive thing.
You're talking about alternative schedule?
I was talking about split schedule.
Split schedule.
everyone is clear on what the options here? So we have about 40 response for the one. All right, so this is a question on class. What is the maximum class size that is acceptable before building additional classroom space at the elementary grade level?
I don't think Troy, this one we shouldn't be asking, we took this one out, because it's a state regulation.
25 is max, right?
Yeah, 25 is
No,
max.
because it said 1 to 24, so you could have a teacher, couldn't you have a teacher and
People can say less than the state mandate.
But you can't, I mean,
Yes, we are. All right. So what is the maximum class size that is acceptable before building additional classroom space at the secondary grade level?
And secondary is defined as what grades, starting with what?
7 through 12.
7 through 12.
there is not a state minimum for this grade level.
What'd you say, 7th through 12th grade?
Yeah.
Yes. We're getting close to the end. Where do you get most of your information regarding the Little Miami School District? Remember, the 0 is 10. And remember, I told you guys I was going to have you answer question 24 again. The beauty of this software is you can do this right on the spot. So it's going to take me a minute or two to run back to the computer. And I'm going to copy and add another question.
Stay tuned. When our singer gets off and sings. You said you would. Joking. Anybody else sing that wants to?
Yeah.
I have a quick question down here.
Yeah.
Go back to question 26, the modulars versus the split schedule versus the
I
alternative
can't
schedule.
because he's in there right now, adding that question. Oh, you just have a question on it. I thought you wanted us to go back
that
to
is
the slide.
the question, you
Yeah.
know, the one, the modular versus
Yeah.
the split versus the alternative.
Yep.
Well, you know, people understand what modular is.
Mhm.
You know, leasing space, that always seems a little weird and sketchy. but maybe people don't understand, like, I didn't really understand the alternative schedule, you know, where you go all year, because I've got children in different grades, and, you know, so my fear with that would be, okay, is my sixth grader gonna be off for 2 months here, and then my third grader gonna be off for 2 months there, and, you know, I am flexible, I'm a realtor, so I have a flexible schedule, and, my wife, has a flexible schedule, but, you know, or, you know, I was talking with her about, you know, or does it go by neighborhood, you know, so this neighborhood or this area of town is gonna follow this schedule, and then, you know, so there's kind of an unclear understanding, so maybe it would be a good option, but,
Right.
it's just not very clear,
Something else that I
because
thought of too.
modulars
is
don't sound very appealing,
If
quite
your
frankly.
child plays football and their off time is the fall, then they're gonna be at school anyway at football practice, you know what I mean? So
Oh, yeah.
there's
yeah.
so many things to consider. with
I don't,
that.
I haven't had experience with ISO, I can't, that's, yeah, you're on record.
Obviously, if we were gonna look at an alternative schedule, all of those things that you're bringing up would have to be looked at. We would have to make some decisions about whether we're all in as a district to do it, so, and we would coordinate typically in districts that have an alternative calendar. If you have an athlete that plays a fall sport, it's at the 7-12 level, they're in session because there are eligibility requirements that have to be met. And if there's a winter, you would coordinate and make sure that the kids are in school at an appropriate time at that 7-12 end. The K-6, obviously there's lots of things and details that need to be worked out and coordinated when you look at that. The trailer, for me, and I'm calling them trailers because they're not really, I have another trailer right in front of that, but they're a security nightmare, they're an environmental nightmare.
Yeah.
They are exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that, to me, I wouldn't put kids in that, but if that's what the community wants.
Leasing space, that was another big question mark. What kind of space could you lease in
Yeah.
our area?
That question just was like, it was tough to answer.
Yeah. What would some potential options for spaces to lease be?
I would prefer that we have the space for kids.
Well, sure.
But
That was kind of my question.
That's another story. None of these are all choices that have downside all the way around, for families, for kids, for the community. They all have downsides aside from having the space that we need for kids to go to school.
I mean,
So-
ideally, what I think school districts look for in terms of leasing are buildings that used to be schools, that have been closed for one reason or another. I mean, obviously, that would be the ideal scenario, is that you can find a school that is somewhere fairly close, such that it's already set up for that function. That's not always the case.
So, doors from there,
Right, right.
So then you have kids on buses for a long time
Right.
too.
Could I ask a
So, yeah.
clarifying question? Is it safe to assume that 4 of the 5, what do you call them? Schedule, 4 of the 5 chunks of the schedule are academic? If that's true, and you're gonna go from 5 to 4, does that mean you have to cram 25% more academics into the four schedules where before you had 5?
Yeah, we're utilizing the 10 or 11 weeks during the summer to get that extra instructional time spread through the year, and then we're just having a certain percentage of the kids not.
Year-round school.
Yeah, it's yeah, it would be a form of year-round, only it's because of our space need, not because we are gonna go to a year-round framework.
do you hire additional teachers or do you pay any more?
Well, there would
Or do you
be,
just make them angry?
well, I'm pretty good at that sometimes. Obviously, we would have to look at that. If a teacher is working more than their typical 285-day schedule, there would be extra cost involved. If they wanted to work year-round, we would have to negotiate that with those teachers' unions.
Just a couple of comments. I'm assuming you guys took notes on things that we as an audience had questions on when these questions were placed, because if I understood correctly, your intent is to put the survey out there online to get more responses. I mean, clearly there were some questions, even when it came down to the one about where you were asking how many elementary grade
the
students,
enrollment
physical
question.
students you wanted in the building. I think those things, you're not gonna get honest answers unless you give some explanation there.
Sure.
Because I think if
That's
we as
yeah,
a
that's
smaller
good.
audience had questions, the larger audiences also.
Yeah.
And going back to this last one, you know, even about what's an alternative schedule, what's, you know, what's a split schedule? At least, I know we can't go into all of the details, but if you need to at least give a small explanation of what those
Yeah.
are for people who have no
We
idea.
kind of need to be able to post
Yeah.
like a glossary,
Well,
almost,
just
a
something that's a
definition.
little clarifying information, because otherwise I don't think you're gonna get
I
accurate
agree.
representation. My other comment, and I was sort of curious, Greg, I don't know if you know how this plays out or not. Now, because of all of the increased testing and everything that we're experiencing from the state level and everything, is that kind of a schedule where you would have different groups of kids going at different times of year even possible?
Well, there are schools in the state that are on a
They're still
year-round
doing it?
schedule, so the testing
Okay.
window for them as well, because I know
Okay.
we still have.
I was just curious
West
if any were
Carrollton
still doing
has several schools that are up on year-round schedules,
Okay,
and their meetings,
they're
those.
somehow making it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you haven't voted on this question, please do so. This is the last one, and then we can start to close this session.
I have
Hang
a
on.
question. Have you guys considered supplementing the school with online classes to help with capacity?
We talked about it, I mean, we haven't really fully vetted any of it, but that was one of the things that we talked about. I don't know why we didn't throw that up as an option.
You know, if you have a question on the list, which we know from experience, Bobby Grice's point about the split schedule, that the district knows doesn't work, and then for some reason the audience likes that schedule, you're at odds here. You've got a group that's not familiar with the question, proposing it,
Right.
versus people that do have experience with it who are against it. Not against it, they know it doesn't work. So, take that one off.
Well, I mean, I think it's an important question to ask though, because we have been in this position as a district before, where we have far exceeded capacity long before we were able to pass a levy to deal with our building needs. And we had to deal with leasing space, we've had to deal with modulars. And these are questions that I think, you know, especially because we have so many new people in this community who weren't around when we had kids in modular units and offsite at a church for, you know, for kindergarten. It's important for people to know that if a levy isn't passed in time to meet those building needs, you're gonna have to come up with some solution, because you can't just say, too bad, we can't do it, we can't educate kids. So, I think it's an important question to ask.
Information about each of those things.
It is,
Not
and I
just
agree, but these are
the word.
preliminary questions just to get an idea of,
Right.
and I think it's important, again, it's an important tool to put that thought out there for people that look, if things don't happen, you gotta do something.
Well, and we will,
I think you should also add the experience with
Oh, I
those
agree,
prior
I agree.
systems to
And
your
as
explanation.
much information as you can give is great, you know, I mean, it just requires.
and
some
I mean,
reading, but-
we've heard the things that you guys have asked. So we'll make those, put some notations and make some adjustments on the online version of this questionnaire, because the other thing, people in the community won't have the benefit of being here to ask questions. So we're gonna make this, I mean, this is a good test in terms of that online version of what, some adjustments we need to make. The last question is here. There's like 46 responses. I wanna make sure we get this in. What I did was I took question 24, I copied it, created another number, so when I run the results, I'll take that previous 24 out and use these results for that particular question.
Troy, you've had about 3 people turn in their.
Hit enter, go ahead and hit enter.
Yes, yes.
So that's probably the.
Well, some of them actually did it before they left.
I have one more question. As we're talking about all these split schedules and alternative schedules and all of that, is that situation avoidable? If we say best case scenario, everybody says, yes, we need new buildings, yes, we want new buildings, yes, we will pass this levy, here's the money, do it. Can we get it done before we are already beyond capacity and we have to do that for a period of time?
Sure you can. Pass a bond issue and an operating levy.
I don't know I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the reality is your elementary schools are already over capacity. There might be some things that can happen over the next few years while we wait for these buildings to come online with regards to how we're using the little bit of extra space that we do have in the high school, junior high, and intermediate to maybe be able to hold us out until those new buildings open. But yeah, we'll be looking at that.
So, I mean, this really concludes this part of the meeting. We're gonna take this information that you've shared with us, your opinions. It's not a voting, it's really, it's a polling to get your opinion around these questions and topics that we've been talking about. Over the next, between now and the next meeting, we'll be meeting as a team, our consulting team. And we'll be looking at all of this information and come up with some viable options of how the district can proceed, move forward. And we'll present those scenarios to you and allow you to give us some feedback on those different scenarios. I mean, we're looking at this as a blank slate. We're looking at everything fresh with a new set of eyes. People that are not in the district, and we don't have any biases toward anything, but we're gonna come up with what we think are good solutions to meet some of the space challenges that you have.
And the solutions we do come up with, knowing that there's not a stopping point to your enrollment growth that we can see. So to come up with a master plan that builds additions and new buildings in a few years, but doesn't forecast then what's the next phase, would be very short-sighted. And so the solution that we come up with will be looking further out than just making sure that we satisfy the projected enrollment growth over the next few years. It will probably be a phase 1 and a phase 2, at, really projecting and kind of thinking holistically about how we handle the growth.
You can come up with a plethora of mechanical systems that meet the requirements. And the only difference is for the given length of time in this phase 1 argument that you're making will be the dollars up front that the voters are willing to pass. Now, who knows that? Nobody knows that. But the Board of Education is going to be charged with coming up with a number and millage on the ballot that they think has a chance of being passed. They should make that guess right now and tell you the number of dollars that represents, and then you can use that number to compare to, or come up with a mechanical system over the length of time that meets that dollar amount.
Well, let's honestly keep the conversation in context. Right now, I mean, this is a process. And we're collecting information and trying to determine what the need is and how might that need be met.
The need
So,
is space. I think this is a lot simpler.
but beyond the need being space, how best to meet that space need. So we need to think clearly and think through this and look at what's the best approach. So we're providing a good solution for the district and board to consider from our perspective. So right now, let's just kind of work through this first part of it and understand what the needs are and how do you meet those needs, and then we get to that point. But right now, I think that's a premature conversation to have.
I disagree with you.
Because we need to
is
figure.
based on dollars that the district is going to be able to pass. You should use that number in coming up with a proposed plan.
Troy, do you mind if I just address, as a school board, just so you know, the main concern that we have, of course, is we want to be frugal, we want to be very cautious in how we spend the dollars from the district. What these meetings are for is to get as much feedback from the community as we possibly can, so that the 5 people that we have here aren't in a room isolated saying, well, I think this or I think that. We want to know what the community thinks. We want to know what the feelings are, what is important and what is not important. That's why when we went out to look for a group, we wanted a group that would be able to come in and collect all that information. We're very early on, and Pete, I agree with what you're saying. We're going to have to at some point look at a number and go, what will pass and what won't.
Right.
And you're 100% right. But what we're trying to do at this stage in the game is we want to see what the priorities are. And then when we do look at those numbers, we know what those priorities that we can say, this is what we're going to do with your dollars. So right now what we're trying to do is we're just trying to, it's kind of, get the community together to say, okay, what are the priorities? What are the things that you feel are, because what you feel is important or what I feel is important may be 2 totally different things. And what we want to do is we want to see what the masses, what the people are willing to get behind, because in the past, what we've seen is that we've had few people making decisions for the masses, and we don't want to do that. Our goal is, let's get as much information as we can so that we can make an educated decision. And then when we go out, we say, we listened to you, and this is what we heard from you, and these are what we would like to do.
Okay.
And then we ask for that permission.
I
But that's
understand
what
that, but be sure you take into account all the experience that we've had in the past. All
You're
that
exactly right.
experience.
And that's why we want to rely on people like yourself and other people who have been here many, many years, because it's very important to get that information. And these folks here, as they're pulling it together, I believe that's what, and I don't know, they made mention, we're doing our best to get it out onto the websites as quickly as possible, because in the past, we've had comments where, communication has been a problem, and we've tried to address that, and we're trying to get it out there as best we can, so.
But this group is the choir.
Yes, but that's why we also have listening sessions. That's why we have listening sessions where 2 board members will go out into different places into the community and listen. These folks that are here right now, they're just trying to get as much information as they can. So as they come back, and we're doing our best just to get that information. That's what our goals are.
And also, we have a business advisory
Yes.
group that plugs in the numbers, and 2 of them.
Exactly right.
What do you think is the levy size that can be passed by this population which is not sitting in this room?
I think you have to.
And that's what you have now, so they have come up with a reasonable mechanical systems, rather than have them come up with 10 mechanical choices, and then you then say, well, we can't pass this, we can't pass that, or that's too big. It always boils down to the number you're gonna give them, so give them that number now so they can come up with the mechanical system that meets that requirement.
And that is a way of approaching it. And we just chose to go this direction because historically speaking, the community has not felt like it's had an input, and we would rather get that input first. But
Thank you.
I'm Brendan.
Thank you, that's much appreciated. Well, and then we want to thank all of you for coming and giving of your time, because this is valuable. We would encourage you to, and we know there are always lots of things going on, and everyone can't make meetings for various reasons. So this survey will be online tomorrow, and it's going to be up for a week. So we would encourage you, for your neighbors and friends and those that you come into contact with, to go online and complete the survey. So in this case, more input is better.
But Melinda, I want to make sure that we have the additional explanations before the survey ever is available, because that is going to be important.
Do we want to set a target time for noon tomorrow? It can be posted? Does that give you enough time?
Yes.
Some of it might, a lot of that's gonna need to come from you guys to define a little bit better the split schedule and the,
Alternative calendar?
yes, alternative calendar. So those are 2 that I'm gonna need you guys to work on, and then we can probably come up with some verbiage to help explain the enrollment question a little bit better.
Okay.
How are people going to be notified that this is available to them?
Well, I have a couple of options. One, if we can set that target time for noon tomorrow, so we can do our part, you can do your part. And we can also, I'll post it on the website. I will put the link out to let people know that they can check our social media and go from the social media to the website. And I also will be emailing the link to our school district email addresses. So that's about 5,000 addresses that they can also take it and give you input. But it will be housed on the front page of the website.
Okay.
So our target is to have that up and available by noon tomorrow.
We'll hang out if anybody has any other